supports seminarians to get the next generation of people who are going to be leading in the church. And so we're so encouraged by Maggie and where she is. And if those of you who might have been on session, we're going to be about here because we're recording here. Some of the chairs needed to be about where they were was fine. But anyway, it's important for us to be supportive of it. And those of us who were on session when she came through were just so impressed with this young lady here. So we're very encouraged by the next generation of church leaders. So all the best to you, Maggie. Thank you. You're welcome to stick around, but she looks like she's got bags and ready to go. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, let's try that again. Good. How about this? Good morning, everyone. So, Seal and I traveled to Pakistan. Many of you know that already. And so Josh Schweitzer asked and if we could do a presentation on that today. And I just want to, just out of curiosity, how many of you are familiar or somewhat familiar with our mission in Pakistan? How many of you know about our mission in Pakistan? I would say it's about half of us here. So let me just tell you that the way this came about was that last year at the conference that our church just hosted a conference a week ago, and that conference was in Nashville last year. And the executive director of this group called Friends of Foreman he was there along with the president of that same group. And Seal and I went up and talked with him, and he said to Seal and to me, "You guys should come check it out. You should come see for yourself, because it's really hard to explain what it is until you actually see it." And I was kind of excited about the idea of that, because in my back of my mind, I'd been thinking that mission partners in our church, I ought to have eyes on them, at least know something about them, not just them coming here, but me being there. I've been all over the mission partners that we have around town, but to try and get out beyond that. Seal was not as excited about that, and maybe she can tell you.
I was initially. I was like, yeah, I'll go. And the closer it came to the time to actually book the flight and go, I became more hesitant, as probably many of you would be too. But it ended up being an incredible experience, and certainly far more eye-opening than just hearing about it.
I would say this, that the big takeaway from us, and she can add her own big takeaway in just a moment, is that what I think the big thing to know is that there are Christians in Pakistan, and a lot of them, like 3, maybe 4 million. The numbers are kind of hard to come by, exact numbers. But there are Christians in Pakistan, and while they are the minority, and in many cases they are having difficulties in that country because of some problems we'll get to, they are still flourishing. And in some ways in the history of the Christian church, you put the squeeze on the Christians, they flourish. You know, the more persecution, the greater the response of faithfulness and living out that faith is. So my overall impression would be there are Christians in there. There's quite a few of the Christians in there, and in spite of the problems, they are still flourishing in their faith.
And I would say the greatest takeaway is that the opportunity to improve their lives, the students at this university and college, is that as a minority group, they get the worst jobs. So think sanitation is about as good as it's going to get. These students come knowing that as they gain their degrees, they have the opportunity to not only improve their lives by either going to other countries and either teaching or working, but they also have the opportunity to earn enough money to either send back to their home so that their families don't have life quite so rough, and they could bring their families wherever it is they have moved to. And there's quite a bit of both of those. So it's just amazing that an education that we take so much for granted is the opportunity for them to make a tremendous difference, not just in their lives, but everybody's lives that they come in contact with.
Okay. So just so you know, Seal is actually, she's wearing today the shalwar kameez, which is the outfit that she's wearing, that she got in Pakistan, and she's wearing the dupatta, which is the head covering there as well. And oftentimes, even though it's not mandatory for women Western women to wear it. She, oftentimes they were wearing, you'll see it, some pictures that they were wearing it over their head as well.
And the women wear these. I have to say they've got it going on. These are so comfortable. So, but the scarf, they have a name for it, the scarf. But the Christian women will wear a scarf over their head during church services when scripture's being read and when a sermon is being preached. So it's not mandatory, but it is a symbol of solidarity and respect. And while we were there, the majority of women did not, they had this on, but we didn't see it all over the head. Muslim women, yes, we didn't see any burqas, which are the head-to-toe black with the screen. We did see a few veiled faces, but this is pretty traditional, and that's why the Christian women wear them and wear the scarves as well.
So what we want to do today is we want to walk you through a presentation of what we did, where we were, what we did, what this college is all about. This is a ministry that we support. We give money to this place, and quite a bit of money to this place as well. So we want to walk you through that, and then show you a couple of side things that we did that were kind of fun things to see. So we'll do that. We'll have a little bit of a video at the end from them thanking us, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. But we want to start first with this. Two things. One is the question of why did we go, besides the fact that we were asked to go. Like, why did we go? Why do we send our money there? We want to start with the question of why do this, and then we'll start with the question about safety, because I will tell you this to a person. Anybody I said that we told that we were going to Pakistan said be safe. So there's a perception out there, which is based in some reality, that there are some safety issues. We'll talk about that first, and then we'll walk through the what this place is. So first question is this. There it is. So we're in Lakeland, Florida. We traveled to the other side of the world, 7,000 miles, 7,000 long. Have you ever been on this trip? Anybody been there and been even in the region of there? Thank you. I'm glad to see the hand, and Jeff, thank you. Bob Tebby. You'll find out in just a few minutes that you say the name Tebby around there, it's like close to Jesus. So it's a very well-respected name. And Bob, we're up here today like we're like we know what we're talking about. Bob has lived there. And so more than likely I'm going to be deferring to Bob at some point and say, hey, Bob, okay, correct us, okay, fact check us here, or answer these questions that we don't know the answers to. So why, and we go from here to Lakeland, Florida. I want to ask you that question. Why would a church send money to a place on the other side of the world? What is our motivation for that? What are your thoughts? Why would we do this?
Bob's mother.
Bob's mother is a great answer. And you knew Bob's mother. Bob's mother and father were Bob and Rowena Tebby. And Bob Tebby was the president, they call it the rector there, the president of this college we're going to be telling you about. And so Rowena was a force of nature. I did not know her. They were both gone before our time here, but yes, that's a great answer. We're involved because of Bob and Rowena. So any other thoughts about why would we go there? Even if we didn't know Bob and Rowena, why would anybody consider going to the other side of the earth with this mission?
Don't spread the gospel.
Spread the gospel. The answer is it helps spread the gospel. Well, why haven't you ever heard there's need to spread the gospel right here in Lakeland, Florida? Why go to Pakistan to do this? Thank you very much. That's what Kay was going to say as well. And I will say it this way. This is a good summary. This is Acts chapter 1, verse 8, where what we hear is that Jesus saying, you're going to receive the Spirit. This is just before his ascension into heaven. He says, you're going to receive the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and you will be my witnesses. That's just a pause on that word. That the word witness is a technical word, and in Greek, that literally it's the word. The Greek word is the word from which we get the English word of a martyr. And what is a martyr? Somebody who's standing firm in their faith, knowing that what they have seen is true, what they've seen is right, and you're going to be these people who know what is true and what is right, and you're going to stand firm in that, and you're going to do that. Look at the language in there. In Jerusalem, in Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth, which is what Carolyn and Kay were both saying, is to the ends of the earth. So we are called to. But this is the answer, by the way. Almost every time we have some sort of missionary activity that is related beyond the local community of the church, there are those who would say, why do that? We used to send missionaries. Seal was the first of us to go on a mission trip to Honduras. It might cost, time we paid money and we bought for materials and all, it may cost $30,000 to $50,000 to send a mission team down there. And everybody would say, just send the money down. Don't send the people down. Or they say, don't send it at all. Put it into the local community. Here's the answer. We're called to do this. We are called to do this. Why do we do global mission? Because we are called by Jesus himself to not make it just about your own backyard, to make it about, figure out a way. Obviously we can't reach the entire world, but we can make some decisions internally to reach many in this world. So wanted to cover that why first. Why are we doing this? Because we have the command of Jesus driving us. And Seal's going to talk about this next one. Were we safe?
Were we safe? We didn't see anything that looked like that exactly.
That's actually Seal right there with the M16 or whatever that is. Her outfit.
Having been to Honduras many years ago, I went in 98, I think it was, right after Hurricane Mitch went through. Anyway, because the poverty is so devastating, theft is huge. I mean, people starve to eat, and quite literally, that's almost beyond our comprehension here. But they carry guns everywhere. So everywhere we were actually in the safest place in Pakistan, which is this college university campus. It's completely enclosed. The gentleman who's head of security had been very high up in the military and had been the head of the Pakistani version of the CIA. So he knew what can happen, what makes a soft target versus a hard target. In other words, somebody that's impenetrable as a unity campus, and then something that's very vulnerable. So having been in Honduras and seeing guns from turrets at the top of gas stations, of all things, and outside of banks, seeing that our security team either had handguns or had bigger guns, you're safe. And it isn't disconcerting at all. It's unusual to see from our perspective, but it is not disconcerting because they're there for your safety and theirs.
So we did ask some questions. These will come up as we talk today. We did ask questions about their own safety, like were they okay? And they've told some stories about some incidents that have come up. We were looking down a list of things that had happened to Christians over time. And so there will be some things that come up. But I will say this early, and I think about it often because it's something that was said to us, is that the source of those problems come into ignorance, the lack of education, poverty, and in some places lawlessness, where there are laws on the books, but they don't uphold the laws. So you put those three together, and you got a pretty difficult challenge for people living in certain areas. So, but having said that, the overall weight of the conversations that we had with the faculty and the people around, the staff and the students, was that they didn't want to talk about that. So that's rare. What's more important to us is like, what is it like to live here? What is it like to be a Christian when we're the vast minority of the faith here? And what is it like for us to live in a Muslim majority country? So, like Seal said, we felt safe. There was never one moment where we felt unsafe. When Seal said she as it got closer to the time for traveling, that that's when she began to handle. I'm not so sure about this. Mostly that's because she didn't want to get the airplane shot down on the way into town. So,
which, if you remember, a couple of years ago, that did happen, and the plane inadvertently had flown into Russian-Ukraine airspace.
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
So when we landed, it was like 1 for 2. When we landed in there, and then we took off, said, "Okay, we're 2 for 2. We made it." I was actually more concerned about getting a stomach bug. Bob, you might appreciate this, having traveled there as well. Is more concerned about getting a stomach bug and wanting to die. So like, if anybody find me a terrorist, please. So anyway, we were safe. So who is this? First off, I found this map. I don't know about you, this part of the world has always been fuzzy in my head. I don't have the places sorted out in my head. I got a rough idea where they are, but I found this map. Was like, well, look at that. That's exactly what I've been wanting to see here. You got all of this is Asia. This is the Russia here, Northern Asia, the Central Asia. Those are all the stands. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. We have a missionary, Phil and Sharla from Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan. These are the stands. And here, Western Asia, interesting that Israel and Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Turkey, and all is part of Western Asia. And then Eastern Asia is basically China, but it's also the Korean Peninsula, Japan, or so on. Most of us as Americans know about Southeast Asia because, the Vietnam War, we learned about it then. And then here is Southern Asia, which is the continent. This all used to be one, country of India before partition. And then Sri Lanka down below here. So I found that very helpful. And we in Pakistan is here, right here in Southern Asia. And you'll notice that it is surrounded by the Arabian Sea, by Iran, Afghanistan, China, and India. So it's quite a place. It has water. It's water access, but it is quite a place. And it's right next to Afghanistan, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But I found this very helpful to sort out places in my head, and hopefully that's helpful for you to see that as well. This is a close-up. The colored parts of this are the districts of the country of Pakistan, and so this area right here is the Punjab, and this red dot right here is where we were. But you'll notice India, Afghanistan's over here, India's over here, and the city of Lahore is where we were. I think it's like 14 million people or so are in this city of Lahore, so it's a big place. So this is where we were. I'm trying to kind of orient you in the world and orient you in the country where we were. Most of the stuff you hear about, we were looking this up last night with Malala. Malala, is that her name? Mm-hmm. Malala is from Malala. Malala, the Nobel Peace girl who went through all the difficulties when she wrote about what it was like to be a woman in country and having an education for them. She's from this area right in here, I think it is. But this area right here is the as we heard several times, the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan is fairly porous up here. And you take that combination of lack of education, poverty, and lawlessness, and then a few people who want to stir the pot, and you have that's where some of the difficulties arise. And I'm pretty sure that bin Laden was somewhere in this area here. Bob, you might know where he was hiding out when they captured bin Laden, but somewhere up here. But this is the country of Pakistan. This, by the way, is Kashmir. That has a whole different story I haven't really looked into yet, but apparently it's in kind of a not sure what to do with it state. So that's Kashmir. Those of you Led Zeppelin fans. This is the flag you see hanging here. This is the flag of Pakistan. I thought it was interesting to hear that the green represents Islam. It's 98% Islam in Pakistan. And I read that the star and the moon represent progress. If you see that on the mosque or if you see that on the flag, it represents progress. I always thought it kind of reminded me of the sickle from the Russian flag, but it's a star and a moon, actually. And what was most interesting to me about the flag was this band right here. This band right here on the left-hand side, that white band, they put on their flag when they became a country and created a flag because that represents the minority religions. The green represents the majority religion. It's the Republic of Pakistan, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The white represents all the other minority religions, and they said that they were going to be the kind of country where these are protected groups. To what extent they're always protected, you could talk about that. But the fact that they chose that on the front end to put that in there is very, very telling. So that was very good. It was good to hear. So that's the flag of Pakistan. Now, we support a place called Foreman Christian College. There's a table in the back there with a lot of information about Foreman Christian College, as well as some other things about the strategic plan. And I actually asked the pastor, who you'll hear from later on, for a copy of some prayer books written by people from Pakistan, and he sent them to me, which was great because if you know me, if we're friends on social media, you know I post a daily prayer from the last 2,000 years of church history, and I thought how cool it would be to get some prayers written by Christians who live in Pakistan. So he sent them to me. He sent 4 prayer books to me. They're on the table over there, and they were written in Urdu, not in English. So if you speak Urdu, you could translate a few of them for me, and we can get that. So Foreman Christian College started in 1864 by a Presbyterian from America. Started in 1864, and Roger Dermody, who is the executive director for that, put together a video, and I want to show you a video that kind of summarizes what Foreman College is all about. So here it is. Oh, I missed it.
For the past 160 years, Presbyterians have been making God's love visible in the fifth most populous and second largest Muslim country in the world, Pakistan. Foreman Christian College, with a total student population of almost 9,000, is a true gem. In fact, some have called it the crown jewel of Presbyterian mission. Amidst the bustling and at times chaotic major two-thirds world city of 14 million people named Lahore is an oasis of peace, educational excellence, harmony, interfaith dialogue, and hope. Foreman equips young Christian leaders, giving them the opportunity to break the cycle of generational poverty, find meaningful jobs in every sector of society, and thus bring the presence of Christ into the majority population in ways that otherwise would be impossible. And Foreman actively empowers young women in ways that sadly happen far too infrequently in the larger Muslim world. In fact, Foreman was the first institution on the subcontinent to give full admission to women back in 1902, which I note is only about 60 years before major universities like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale give women full admission. On campus, students frequently say that at Foreman, everyone matters and every voice is respected and heard in a way that happens no other place in all of Pakistan. Together, the students, faculty, administrators, and staff live out the Foreman motto, by love, serve one another.
So, just so you know, just again, to create a big picture here, the college itself, it's called Foreman Christian College, but it's made up of three major centers of work. And one of them is the kindergarten through 10th grade school called Light of Hope. And we'll talk about that in just a moment here. And another one is what they call the intermediate or the college level, which is 11th and 12th grade. And in this case, Foreman only has 11th and 12th grade boys. And our understanding is that's because the girls for 11th and 12th grade have another college like a couple of miles away. So they didn't feel like they needed to have 11th and 12th grade girls because they're taken care of a few miles away. Although we also have heard repeatedly from the guy who's in charge of the college part of it, the intermediate part of it, that he would like to make it a co-ed. So then there's a question of where do we put them and all that. But that's the second part. And then the third part is the kind of the traditional university. It's bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. So in one sort of one set of grounds, you have kindergarten through a doctorate in there. So that's a pretty big scope there. Before we start breaking that down, though, just curious, because we're doing a lot of setting up right now, and just want to pause and say, are there any questions that you have pressing right now that you know you would like to ask that's just like on your mind? Any questions at all you want to ask about Foreman College or Pakistan before we get too much further? Yes, Marilyn. Is there a seminary? There's not a seminary as part of Foreman Christian College. There is a seminary, and I'm pretty sure, I'm looking at Bob, he might know better, pretty sure there's one in Lahore, but this is not part of a seminary. It does not have a seminary in it. There is a separate group. We're going to look at them a little bit later on. It's a place called TSA. Information's on the back table about it. It's about 4 miles from this campus, and it's been around for a long time. They have women's dormitories there. They have a little gift shop where they sell some needlework and other things. They have a special needs ministry, which is what I really want to show you in just a few minutes here. And then they have some classroom spaces and office spaces as well. But that's it. There's no seminary. Anything else? Yes.
The language of instruction.
English.
Yeah, I was going to say we heard it in English. I'm pretty sure it's English all the time.
All the schools will teach in English on this campus. I don't know about outside of the campus, but the kids oftentimes will come in speaking Urdu, but
Or their regional.
Or their regional tongue. There are a lot of dialects. But we saw, I think it was second graders were learning English and Arabic at the same time. So they had a sentence in English and a sentence in Arabic, same sentence in Arabic. So those little guys are learning 2 to 3 languages at 7 years old.
Yes. You know, the old joke is that what do you call a person who speaks three languages? Trilingual. What do you call a person who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call a person who speaks 1 language? American. Right. So that's unusual for us to hear that. So
Yeah.
yes.
You should have been paid.
Good question. Is there tuition? And yes, there are students, and in these all the programs here that are self-funded, and there's I think a fair number of them that are self-funded. But there's also a lot of scholarship, and there's a lot of needs for scholarship as well. The interesting thing related to that, though, is that we found out that the Muslim leaders in the country send their own children to Foreman Christian College. They send their own. Why would they do that? Because it's such a great education. They get a great education there. They get a better education there than they would get in some of the other places around. So they've created an environment where they can get a great education. They know that they're not. This is some would actually criticize, I think, the Christian leadership at Foreman College for not proselytizing. But as you heard Roger say in that video just a moment ago, the existence of this and the character of these Christians being itself is an influence in the country, and people without proselytizing, people have come to Christ just seeing how the Christians live. So it's a very different approach to sharing the gospel. But a lot of them are self-funded. But there's a lot of Christians who, because of what Seal said earlier, they're given all the menial jobs of society. Well, when you're in a poor village, and you have basically a subsistence living, you can't afford to go to school. You can't afford to get past whatever the public provides, and to get into college and to get into university, that's unheard of unless you have help. I think it was some 80-something% of the Christian students. I can't remember the rest of the numbers. Had some type of scholarship. It's a great question, though. Anything else? Yeah, they have. You can go to this. So he asked if being a Muslim, can you go to this college and do you do well at this college? Yes, you can. Not only that, out of respect for the fact that it's 98% of the country, they'll have a mosque on campus, and so they'll have some spiritual leadership on campus as well. And the Muslim leaders in the country see that as well and say, okay, it's a safe place. But there's also multiple churches on campus. There's Hindus on campus. There's Sikhs on campus as well. So there's multiple faiths. And I do think that it's quite remarkable to see that these folks get along. They're not disparaging. They create an environment. Even their theme is "By love, serve one another." You know, even that theme is just lived out in country. It's very different than what you would expect.
I want to interject here. For the far-right extremist Muslims, their girls do not go to school past the 5th grade, which was part of the issue with Malala, because she wrote a blog that said, who are the Taliban to take away my right for an education and those of other girls? 5th grade is usually it, okay? For the more moderate, the Muslim families send their daughters here because they know they're safe. That's one of the issues. It's a huge issue. And they'll send their daughters here, and they know that a lot of the military people send their own children here, whether they're the little guys all the way up through doctorate. So they learn to work together. Muslims came and sat in the back of the church when we were there. Christians interact with them on a very respectful and dignified manner all over campus. So
the more we heard stories like this all week, though, the more that fed into the thing we said earlier, is that we felt safe. You feel pretty safe when you know that the leaders in the country are sending their kids there. Mm-hmm. The military leaders in the country are sending their kids there. And so the word is on the street is, don't mess with them. And even if there was a problem, you've got a military force on campus to deal with it. Yes?
Only residential or 30s at the case, yeah.
I don't remember K-10. I think K-10 is residential.
they're mostly residential, and I'll address that in a few minutes.
there are campuses, or there are residences on campus. You'll see one of the halls, one of the new tall halls, I can't remember the name of it right now, that we saw was the girls' dorm. That's a big conversation because it's a big conversation for us in this country that we're going to send our child to a college. Are we going to feel safe about our daughter or son being in the residence there? So they have residential halls, and they take a lot of care in those halls to keep everybody safe. But they mix them together. There's not Muslim halls and Christian halls. They're mixed together.
How many students for each group are we talking about?
Well, you heard him say 9,000. Do you know the answer to that, Bob? How many students are in the K through 10 at the Light of Hope and the college? And do you remember that, Seal?
I
In
don't.
the university?
But 2% of the country is made up of the minority groups. Christians are about 1.5%, and the other 0.5% are made up of smaller Hindu, Sikh, whatever. So as far as on campus statistics, I don't remember what they said.
I saw a hand up. Yes.
I feel like they fall like white blood counts down on them monthly.
Yes, they want. We'll say more about them in just a moment. The person who's in charge of that, Dr. Sunreal, he wants Sunreal. Sunil. I always put an R in there. So Sunil. He wants to have girls come into the campus to increase to be able to do what we're doing for the boys, for the girls as well. But that hasn't happened yet because there's a girls' school a couple of miles away. The girls go there and the boys come here.
So the funny thing is, a lot of these young men that are in 11th, 12th grade college and university haven't been around a girl other than maybe their sisters or cousins, whatever. So when they come to campus and they meet girls, they don't know what to say to them. They don't know how to talk to them because I haven't talked to them since they were all pushing and shoving each other in 4th and 5th grade. So that was one of the things that was almost kind of comical. Is we don't know how to talk to them.
Bruce.
With what
Yes.
what kinds of read do they all put? How do they recognize lamb, oil, and they have need to put those forward?
So how many what degrees do they have? Are the degrees recognized? Are they accredited? And then how many foreign students are there? I don't. Well, the degrees are your typical degrees. Art and history and sciences and a lot of computer science. We heard a fair amount of computer science with degrees, mass comm, those types of degrees. They are currently going through an accreditation process, and I think it's a re-accreditation process that's going to take them until 2029, which if you've ever been around a university, the accreditation process is quite an effort. And so they're in that process right now. We sat on for one lunch with the executive team of the college, and they were talking through that. So it is they do have an accreditation process and re-accreditation and process. I don't think there was a lot of international students coming outside of Pakistan to go to this university.
That accreditation process is the same accreditation that Harvard, Yale, Princeton, it begins with an N, I think. I don't remember what it was, but it's not like a little podunky thing. It will be recognized internationally as an excellent school of the highest standard.
Okay, one more, we'll move on.
I know it's $200 for a student to take a placement test for the university level, which is an astronomical sum.
Yeah, they might actually get a scholarship for tuition and
Right.
board, but they can't afford to apply. We had that issue with somebody while we're there, but the actual cost of the tuition, I don't have that number, so we should ask. Bob, do you know?
About $3,000 a year.
$3,000 a year.
Right?
Netching, thank you.
Some U.S.
Yeah, good.
You've got Hamid man in you. Holy, but you all that tank to me, 7 months. That's making the 3,000.
There's your international part right there. Yeah, thank you, Bob, for sharing that. Well, we have several things to cover here, so I want to move on here. This is a shot that we took outside of the Light of Hope, and this is for 2nd and 3rd grade, 4th and 5th grade, and 6th and 7th, and maybe 8th grade as well. But it's basically the elementary and maybe into middle school. They had an assembly to issue awards for a poster competition, like an art poster competition. And so on the left-hand side are the children who are gathered for the assembly. The upper right-hand side is Roger Dermody, is the executive director of Friends of Foreman, and he's issuing one of those awards. Seal and I got to issue one, and one other couple got to issue the other. And the bottom right is the school itself, one of the buildings for the school itself. But I know Seal was very, very impressed with the students. You want to say something about them?
These kids, and they have the younger grades up front and the older grades in the back, but they're all lined up. And they're standing there very politely, very respectfully. You don't have that pushing and shoving and going on. They are really disciplined and very respectful, and it's not a begrudging disciplined and respectful. That's how they're taught, and that's how they behave. So I was impressed by that because our feral grandchildren would not have been doing that.
So we showed up on the first day we were there was the first day of Ramadan, so there weren't as many students on campus at all. And they have right outside this building over here to the left, and out there's a back gate. That's where they drop the kids off from those who are who come from the community to drop the kids off. But even with fewer students there, we could go in. You can see them. They were teaching them English. They were teaching them the sciences. They were teaching them art. It was a kind of what you would think of as a typical school, elementary school.
And at the university level, it is a liberal arts school, which is a foreign concept, because if you're going to study and major in physics, that is all you take. And that is one of the degrees they have. Pharmacology, psychology, chemistry degrees. So it's very typical of what we would consider to be a typical university experience, but to have a liberal arts opportunity as a university is quite a different concept there.
Well, we'll show you about show you the boys. These are some of the boys here from the 11th to 12th grade, the intermediate boys. And this was an evening that was prepared just for us. And these boys on the couch and sitting around, several of them told their kind of gave a testimony of their faith. These are all Christian boys. They gave their testimony of faith. Several of them also they recited scripture from memory, long passages of scripture, stories of scripture, which is quite impressive as well. And then they sang to us as well, several songs to us as well. And I would tell you that we think it's this boy right here told the story about Jaranwala. And in 2023. There was one of the difficulties that you have if you're a non-Muslim in country is they have these things called the blasphemy laws, and with blasphemy laws, it's illegal for you to blaspheme Muhammad, blaspheme the Quran, blaspheme Islam itself. And so it had an incident in this city, which is not that far from Lahore where we were staying. It was definitely in Punjab, the territory where we were staying. Where they took some of the pages from the Quran and they threw them onto this person's lawn, I guess.
A Christian man's yard.
Yeah, and he made or sold shoes. Definitely sold them, and he was doing quite well. And it turns out when the unpacking that we got, 2 years later, was that the Muslim man who also sold shoes was envious of the sales that he was getting, and so all you need to do is just accuse someone of wrongdoing, and the problems can come, and all kinds of difficulties can come. Well, in this case, the difficulties was they put it on the loudspeakers in the mosque that everybody needs to rise up against these infidels who have just blasphemed the Quran, and they went and they burned churches I've seen different numbers, but 26 is the number that comes to our mind from this town. So this boy's telling his story of being in that town when that happened, and you live with these Muslims because oftentimes friendly Muslims were the ones who sheltered some of these Christians from these more radical Muslims. But these folks were warned ahead of time. They ran for cover. They ran into a church nearby, into a cemetery nearby, and they hid out in the cemetery only to walk to another city, which is probably 20 miles away, to get to safety. And he sat there that night and told us about how that made his faith in Jesus Christ stronger. Again, you put some heat on the Christian church, you put us in difficult, hard times, and you'll find the Christians oftentimes galvanize in moments like that. And you heard that story. It was a great moment to hear that story from these guys. And then they sang us a song, and I have the last verse of their not theme song, what do they call it? Their
It's
alma
their
mater.
university alma mater.
So here it is. Bet you might like this.
Like to keep their instantly born. All but I'm rich on sorgates. Reading with memory and with time. All that it's those two. In with the ass, and this is. This all of that I've been sheldon sit on marriage. When they are hard. And you're one shroud over Irish, and please, parent to the king, come on. Mistakes the world, then when it stands but so God it shine on. That mother stands in mother, for my Christian honors. I know, I know. By love,
By love, serve one another. That's the theme that started, I think, might have started with the founder, Charles Foreman, but it's certainly the theme of the college, by love, serve one another. And it was actually written by
Their music instructor, I think, is Japanese and her husband's South Korean, or it's vice versa. But so that's part of that liberal arts program that people find so unusual.
Yeah. So that's the intermediate level. And then this is the Jim Tebby, Bob Tebby. Who is that guy? Who's Jim Tebby? It's Bob's brother. Bob's dad was the rector or the president of the of Foreman Christian College in the 70s, I want to say, in the 70s. And then Bob's brother became the rector or the president later. And so they dedicated this campus center to him in honor of him. And what's interesting about that is the chief information officer of the executive team of the college. He kind of went just about everywhere we went, and it seemed like he was really wanting to make a point with us is that this college can hang with the best of anybody. And so you see, it's fairly traditional looking outside. But look inside. Over here is the student center, very modern, fresh, very modern. Over here is the technology center, and he was walking me through all the technical details of the technology, so much so our eyes are like, okay, that's enough. We're just glazing over. But it was he made the point that this is a substantial program and substantial place that we have here. So that was that's the campus center, and that's a connection with us. Now, we had, I'm trying to be mindful of our time right now. We had a day where we went out into the village, about an hour and a half away from the college. And the young man on the right-hand side here is a young man named Petros. And so we're in this village called Gazipur. And as it turns out, the guy on the right-hand side, this village is a poor village, and there's no way he would ever have been able to go to college or university without the scholarships. And so they wanted us to see what his life was like. So we went to the village. That's his mom to his right. That's his dad next to her, and his cousin in between them. And that's his younger brother. He was the first person in this village, the entire village, to go to college.
Of 400 families ever.
Yeah.
First one.
Certainly the first one in his family, first one in the village. And so this is his story. So we travel out to see him. He is 24 years old. He is he's studying to be a pharmacist, and he's not too much further to go. We have since found out that he is, because I asked, he is about $2,500 away from finishing his education. And I said that to Nancy Bertram. I said, we ought to raise that money. Let's just get, I mean, I know there's a 1,000 possible Petroses out there, but this is the one we met. This is the one that we know. We should get him across the finish line. And she's already come up with $1,000. So if you would be interested in helping get him over the finish line, write a check to this church, put Petros on the check. Let's get him over the finish line. I'd love to do that. But we're going to be part of that as well. But anyway, this is his story. So Steele's going to tell you about the meal and the women.
So hospitality as a country is a big deal. You're not going to get a little plate of cheese and crackers. You're going to get platters of food. And so for a family in a village that is incredibly poor, they pulled out all the stops. So we had 3 big platters of rice. They served yogurt with it. They had a chicken dish. They had cooked some fish outside, literally boiling in a pot. And they had something that was very unusual. And Roger, of all his trips coming to Pakistan and going to the villages, we heard a blender, and they made strawberry milkshakes for us. The water buffalo milk is not the issue in that story. It's actually the strawberries and the water they washed them in. So I took a polite sip. We had other people that were drinking it, and they were fine.
I ate none of it.
And John had none of it. And they serve either bottled water or sodas there, a lot of Coke. And so this is us in the house. It is brick. It was tall ceiling, so it actually was really pleasantly cool inside the house. And neighbors would have brought in their furniture. There was, on this side of the picture, a whole lot of chairs just right next to each other. That all would have come from neighbors to fill in the gaps of seating and putting items out on the tables. That would have filled in the gaps, and that's what they do for each other.
So these are either people on the trip with us or wives of faculty members. Like this is the wife of the vice president, the vice rector. She's the assistant to the chief of staff. That's the wife of the president, and this is another faculty member's wife. She was on the trip with us out of a church out of Connecticut. So what struck me was it took a while for me to figure this out, but everything that I've seen about what a first century home looks like in Israel, I was like, oh my goodness, we're in it in Pakistan right now in 2025 here. So that, you had these exterior steps that went up to a flat rooftop. You have this interior area. You cooked outside. You bring the animals on the inside when there's bad weather or cold weather. Bring the animals on the inside. All of that was the case in this home, in this village. They had a place for the animals to come in the inside when the weather was bad. They had an upstairs roof area when the weather was hot. They would sleep up here at nighttime. And so I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing what it would have been like in Israel at the time. So this is the upstairs of the house of Petros and his family's house. And they would sleep up here in this flat area of the roof. And I said, well, what's this building over here? What's that for? He said, well, it's still more comfortable up here than downstairs inside. So we go there if it's raining. And then this area right here is dung and straw mixed together. And as it dries out, it becomes fuel for burning. For burning. So, and over here, if you look over this wall right here, you see this, which is about 7 or 8 water buffalo in this little patio, this little courtyard area. So that's the water buffalo, a very big, source of milk and meat and all that. And they raise these here. Bottom right-hand side is the bathroom. That's the toilet right there. Everybody's curious about that, right? This is the toilet, okay? 1 foot goes here. The other foot goes there. Business section is in the middle. And so, and the water buckets are over here to flush things down. And then if you go outside the house, and you'll see right outside the door, there's this little area of a little trough that is only maybe 5 inches wide and about a foot deep, and you can see water flowing through it, and just brings that washes that water right out of the city. So it's very old school.
Yeah, the floors of this home are dirt. It's hard-packed dirt. It did smell like a barn in there, but if you have been in a barn that is kept clean, it has an odor to it, but it isn't necessarily an unpleasant one. It's just different. And so I was under the impression they kept their water buffalo in at night also, but that might not be the case during, a pleasant time of year.
So I want to just tell you what Petrus's life is like. This young man gets up in the morning, 5:30 in the morning or so, and he gets out and works in a strawberry field over here. You see a mosque in the background. Strawberry fields over here. Works the strawberry field or the flower field. These are roses here, and he will either cut roses to send them to market, so cut flowers to market, or he will harvest or work in the fields for the strawberries. And he'll do that until it needs time to go get on a bus. Then he goes and takes a bus for 90 minutes and goes to the campus, and he's at the campus all day long. And we were talking last night. I'd forgotten he works at the campus he's on kind of work study. Has his classes on the campus, does his homework on the campus, gets back on that bus, comes back in the evening, gets dinner, works again in his family business in the fields again, and then maybe does a little more homework and goes to bed and starts it all over again. Can we talk about a hardworking, life? Hardworking life. This young man, and he's getting ahead. And the city council leaders are calling him now, knowing that he's educated. He's starting to do some things for his own village to help improve his own village. So it's just very inspirational to see hard work, brilliant young man, doing the right things, and really wants to help his country. Again, the water that they wash the strawberries with, that was the main concern. The water supply is not always in the village.
In the village, yeah.
In the city, it's okay. I still drink bottled water everywhere, but it's the water, yeah. So I want to tell you this, and then do two other things. Back in Lahore now, there was the special needs part of the school, the TSA group, the Technical Services Association, which is about 3 or 4 miles from the campus. They have special needs. I would call it special needs ministry is what we call it here. And I thought this church would be inspired to know that if you can imagine the difficulties in our country with people with families with special needs kids, you can now take it to a developing world country, and it's even more pronounced. And so I was so pleased and so inspired to hear that they are taking care. And we got this welcome. They sang us a song. They gave us this welcome of a group of kids, and it's not nearly enough to take care of the needs from throughout Lahore or throughout the country. But they're wanting to make a difference with these 15 kids, and there's probably more than this who were there that day. So I was very inspired to see that they were doing that in this school. So I'm going to skip this part right now. If you'd like to stick around afterwards, maybe Sil can run this for you. But this was a pretty cool thing that had nothing to do with Jesus and the school or anything like that. It's a flag lowering ceremony, and it's kind of a combination of a flag lowering ceremony between the border of India and Pakistan that has stadiums built on either side, where they cheer each other on and say, "Yay, go Pakistan! Yo, yay, go India!" And then they have these soldiers come in and do what feels like the sort of ceremonial lowering of the flag, combined with, if you know the New Zealand hakas, you know what that is, where they make their big scary eyes and they do very threatening, bold moves. There's a combined with that, like it's kind of my dad can beat up your dad feel at the border, but it's really cool. I'll give you a bit of a flavor of it, and then I'll move on because we definitely have some. I have a service to get to in a minute. This guy was up whipping up the crowds, getting them to yell. There's your cheerleader. There's your typical soldier. And they do a lot of yelling, and they eventually they're going to get to open those gates, and they're going to lower the flags. There they are.
Those are 2 women.
These are the gates. They will open eventually, lower the flags. And there's a crowd of people over there. There's a crowd of people behind us, all yelling, "Go India, go Pakistan." And he's trying to get them all to yell. And he's succeeding. And she would kill you with her eyeballs. Yeah, she was tough. That guard they had there was tough. All right, that's it. So I want to take a few more questions, and then I'm going to roll a video, and we'll wrap it up for today. Anyway, yes, Cindy. Every day at 5 o'clock. They lower. It's a flag lowering ceremony.
And
What's that? They do have sports team, and on campus they have sports teams. Soccer's big, but the national sport is actually field hockey, believe it or not. But the real national sport, the official national sport is field hockey. The real national sport, so we found out, is cricket. Big cricket competition going on while we were there. National competition going on.
That's so big.
We stayed in a guest house. It's a very modern guest house, very comfortable. Well, I say very comfortable. The gas was out, which heated up the hot water. So I took like sink baths for 2 days until they got that fixed. I'm not about to get in a cold shower ever.
the soldiers that you saw, the ones that do, Roger called it like military breakdancing, they march and one leg goes straight out. So it's not like a normal walk. They do that. And you saw the women doing that with their arms. Imagine that with your legs, okay? Those men have to be at least 6'2" to even be part of that guard. Then they wear a couple-inch heel that has taps on the bottom of it, so when their foot hits the ground, it's a loud sound. And then they have on a helmet, kind of like a pith helmet, but it has this plumage up on the top, so they look like they're 7.5 feet tall. But the shortest one is 6'2", 6'5", 6'6".
They look like that freshman center for the University of Florida Gator basketball team
Yeah.
we'll be playing next year. You notice I haven't said a word about that.
Until now.
Okay, so just want you to hear a few thank yous.
Hello, friends. I am here. This is our last day on the campus of the Fullerton Christian College here in Lahore, Pakistan. And I've been going around this week and talking to different people and asking them if they would just share a little bit of their expression of gratitude toward our church. Our church has supported this college, a very unique college. We could say more about this in some other setting, but just we've supported this college for 50 years now. And so I wanted you to hear some of the people here, and maybe some people who are supporting to hear, express some gratitude to us as a congregation. So here they come.
Hello, my name is Anik, and I'm working as a faculty member over here in Fullerton Christian College in Computer Science Department. And thank you very much, Lakeland Church, Presbyterian Lakeland Church, for being donor for FC College. You have empowered me and a lot of my peers. And I thank you deeply from my heart that you are doing a God's work, and God is going to bless you so much. And keep doing this. Keep uplifting our community in Christ. Thank you so much.
Hello, this is Nakhbayaz. I'm serving as an IT asset supervisor looking all assets in FC College. Hi, my name is Afar, and I'm the business analyst and working on the requirements of the department.
Hi, it's Afar Kamal. I'm an IT office manager and look after all the IT equipment in FC College.
And we are thankful for the Presbyterian Church for their support.
Khushamdeed, welcome. My name is Jonathan Addleton. I'm the president of Fullerton Christian College, a chartered university in Lahore, Pakistan. Thank you, First Presbyterian Church in Lakeland. A lot of associations with the Tebby family, and in fact, back in the day, we visited the Tebby family and also visited First Presbyterian on a number of occasions. So, special place in our heart for it. And again, you have a special place in a lot of hearts here in Lahore because of the support that you have given to Fullerton Christian College over the years. So thank you. Shukriya. Meherbani.
Hey, First Pres Lakeland. Roger Dermody. I'm the executive director of Friends of Foreman. It's been my privilege to have your senior pastor and his wife here this last week on the Foreman campus. And boy, I am so grateful for the many, many years of support and generosity and partnership between First Pres Lakeland and Friends of Foreman. You are absolutely changing lives, providing scholarships for need-based scholarships to Christian students, to young women, really creating an environment where Christians and majority Muslims can learn together in a place of hope and peace and respect, and also providing for some of the leadership and the programming on campus. So thank you so much. This is just an amazing work of the Lord. It's one of the best things that Presbyterians have ever done missionally. And I am so grateful for your partnership. God bless.
I'm Eileen Das, working as Chief of Staff at the Rector's Office, Foreman Christian College. I'm thankful to the First Presbyterian Church, Lakeland, Florida, for all the support they are giving through these years to the FC students, faculty, and staff. Really thankful for your love, affection in Jesus Christ.
Hello everyone, I am Gohar Ayub from Former Christian College, Lahore, Pakistan, and I want to thank you, the Presbyterian Church at Lakeland, for your generous support. And because of this, it was possible for me and for millions who have got this opportunity to study here at Foreman and have a better life. And thank you so much once again for this amazing scholarships, for the donations. And may God bless you and be with you and guide and protect you in everything you do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ruben Kamar. I'm pastoring a Presbyterian Urdu congregation at FC College. I'm also the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Pakistan, and I'm thankful to Lakeland Presbyterian Church. They are supporting students at FC College, and this gives me immense pleasure to say thanks to the congregation and the all staff of First Presbyterian Church of Lakeland. They are generously supporting Christian students here, and I feel that this is the best way you people can uplift Christian brothers and sisters in Pakistan, because education is the only way to uplift the living standard of the Christians in Pakistan. And I feel also pleasure to be the pastor over here and see the life-changing experience of so many students who come from very humble background in this college to study. And then they go out after the completion of their studies. I see many of them are now working in government organizations on very good positions. This all could become possible with the support of people like the Church of Presbyterian Church of Lakeland and many other people in USA who care for the Christian community and the Pakistani people. Thank you so much once again.